My mom guilt-tripped me into giving her my $20,000 savings, then spent it on herself. I exposed her to the family and cut contact. That was 2 months ago. Today, she's begging me to help her avoid eviction. So this whole mess started about 6 months ago when I was riding high on finally hitting that sweet 20K milestone in my savings account. For real, I'd been grinding for 3 years straight, picking up extra shifts at the hospital where I work as a nurse, eating ramen like it was gourmet cuisine, and basically living like a hermit to stack that cash. My plan was solid. Use it as a down payment on my first apartment so I could finally move out of my cramped studio that smelled like my neighbor's cooking experiments. Mom had been acting weird for weeks before she dropped the bomb on me, like calling me more than usual, asking about my work schedule, being all sweet and asking if I needed anything. Should have seen the red flags waving, but honestly, I was just happy she was being nice for once instead of her usual passive-aggressive routine. Then came the day she showed up at my place unannounced, which never happens because she thinks my neighborhood is sketchy. She's standing there in my doorway, looking all dramatic with tears in her eyes, clutching her purse like she's about to collapse. My first thought was someone died, or she got some terrible diagnosis. "Honey, I need to talk to you about something serious," she says, pushing past me into my living room and settling onto my IKEA couch like she owned the place. "I'm in real trouble here, and you're the only one who can help me." My stomach dropped, because when Mom says she's in trouble, it usually means someone's about to get financially screwed, and that someone is typically me. But she starts this whole sob story about how Dad's medical bills from his heart surgery last year are drowning them, how they might lose the house, how she's been too proud to ask for help but now has no choice. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. I know this is getting long, but trust me, it gets so much worse. The manipulation tactics she used would make a politician jealous. Should I have seen through her act from the beginning? I'm sitting there listening to her go on about how they're behind on mortgage payments, how the bank is threatening foreclosure, how she's already sold her jewelry and Dad's tools, but it's not enough. She's got the whole waterworks going, talking about how they raised me and sacrificed everything for my education, how this house holds all our family memories. I hate to ask this of you, sweetheart, but could you help us with a loan? Just until Dad gets back on his feet and can return to work. Maybe 15 or 20,000? I know you've been saving up and we'd pay you back with interest, I promise. The guilt trip was masterful, no cap. She's bringing up every sacrifice they ever made, every time they helped me through college, every birthday present and Christmas gift like she was keeping a running tab. Then she hits me with the nuclear option. If we lose this house, I don't know what we'll do. Your father's health can't handle the stress of being homeless. I'm scared we might not survive this. I felt like absolute garbage sitting there with 20 grand in my account while my parents supposedly faced losing everything. What kind of daughter would I be if I let them become homeless? So yeah, I caved like a house of cards in a tornado. Okay, Mom, I'll help, but I need a payment plan and everything in writing. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack, thanking me over and over, promising this was temporary and they'd have it back to me within 6 months, 8 months tops. We went to the bank that afternoon and I transferred the money to her account, watching my savings balance drop to basically nothing. For about 2 weeks after that, Mom was calling me constantly to thank me and update me on their situation. She said they'd caught up on some payments and things were looking better. Then the calls started getting less frequent. When I'd ask about repayment plans or timelines, she'd get vague and change the subject. That's when I started getting suspicious and did some digging. Called my dad directly while Mom was at her book club, and let me tell you, that conversation was enlightening. Medical bills? What medical bills? Dad sounded genuinely confused. Insurance covered most of my surgery and we paid the rest months ago. Why are you asking about medical bills? My blood went cold. Dad, Mom said you guys were behind on mortgage payments because of your medical expenses. Long pause. Kiddo, we paid off the mortgage 2 years ago. What exactly did your mother tell you? The room started spinning as the truth hit me like a freight train. There was no financial crisis, no threat of foreclosure, no desperate situation requiring my life savings. Mom had straight up scammed me with Oscar-worthy acting skills. Update, plot twist that nobody saw coming. My own father had no clue about Mom's lies. The detective work I did next revealed the truth about where my money really went. Can you guess what she spent $20,000 on in 2 weeks? I spent the next few days doing some serious investigating, and what I found made me sick, to my stomach. Mom's Facebook was full of posts about her new wardrobe hauls, spa days with her friends, and fancy dinners at restaurants I couldn't afford. Her Instagram showed off a brand new Coach purse, fresh highlights that definitely cost a few hundred at her salon, and photos from a weekend getaway with her sister to some resort. She'd blown through my entire life savings on herself like she'd won the lottery. $20,000 spent on pure selfish indulgence while I was back to eating cereal for dinner and stressing about my rent. The betrayal cut deeper than any breakup I'd ever been through. This was my own mother, the woman who raised me, who taught me about honesty and hard work, and she'd looked me dead in the eye and lied her way into stealing my future. I screenshot everything, every post, every photo, every receipt I could find. Then I crafted the most detailed message in family group chat history. Hey everyone, I wanted to share something that happened recently. Mom asked me for help with a financial emergency, saying Dad's medical bills were going to cause them to lose their house. Being a good daughter, I gave her my entire $20,000 savings. Turns out there was no emergency. Dad's bills were already paid, the house has been paid off for years, and Mom spent my money on shopping sprees and vacations. Here's the proof. Then I dropped screenshot after screenshot into that group chat like I was providing evidence in court. Photos of her luxury purchases, posts about expensive dinners, pictures from her resort weekend, all time-stamped within days of receiving my money. The family chat exploded. My aunts were sending shocked face emojis. My cousins were asking if this was real. My grandmother was typing in all caps about how disappointed she was. Uncle Mike sent a message saying he always suspected Mom had spending problems but never imagined she'd steal from her own daughter. Dad called me within minutes, absolutely furious. Not at me, but at Mom. He said he had no idea she'd asked me for money and was horrified to learn about her spending spree. Turns out she'd been hiding purchases from him too, probably planning to play dumb when the credit card bills arrived. Mom tried calling me 17 times that day. 17. I let every single call go to voicemail. Her messages went from angry to defensive to pleading to downright pathetic. How dare you embarrass me in front of the whole family? Those screenshots are taken out of context. I was going to pay you back. You're being dramatic and cruel. Then, later. Okay, maybe I made some mistakes, but I'm still your mother and you owe me respect. We can work this out if you just answer your phone. And finally, please call me back. I'm sorry things got complicated, but destroying my reputation won't get your money back. Let's talk like adults. I blocked her number after that last message. Blocked her on social media too. If she wanted to communicate, she could do it through Dad or other family members, but I was done being manipulated by her crocodile tears and fake apologies. The family was split down the middle. Half of them were team, she's still your mother, family comes first, and the other half were team, what she did was theft and manipulation. My grandmother actually drove over to Mom's house and demanded she explain herself in person, which apparently resulted in a screaming match that the neighbors called the police about. Dad ended up separating from Mom temporarily, staying with my uncle while they figured things out. He was embarrassed that his wife had scammed their own daughter and said he couldn't look at her the same way knowing she was capable of such deception. For 2 months, I had zero contact with Mom. It was honestly peaceful. No guilt trips, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells wondering what drama she'd create next. I picked up extra shifts to rebuild my savings, started looking at cheaper apartments since my budget was back to square one, and focused on healing from the betrayal. Update. 2 months of peace and quiet ended today when Mom showed up at my workplace. What she told me there had my coworkers staring and my supervisor asking if I needed security. The audacity is about to reach levels that shouldn't be possible. Then this morning happened. I'm at the nurse's station updating patient charts when security calls up saying someone's asking for me in the lobby. I figure it's Dad or maybe one of my cousins, so I head downstairs, and there's Mom sitting in the waiting area looking like she hasn't slept in days. My first instinct was to turn around and walk away, but she spotted me and jumped up like her chair was on fire. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I drove an hour to get here because you won't answer my calls. She looked rough, not gonna lie. Her hair was messier than I'd ever seen it. Her clothes weren't the designer stuff she'd bought with my money, and she had that desperate look people get when they're backed into a corner. I don't have anything to say to you, I told her, keeping my voice professional because we were in my workplace and I didn't need my coworkers seeing family drama. I'm about to be evicted, she blurted out, loud enough that a few people in the lobby turned to look. The landlord gave me 30 days notice and I have nowhere to go. Your father won't take my calls, your grandmother won't help, and everyone in the family thinks I'm some kind of monster. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. Landlord? I thought you owned your house. Her face went red. We had to sell it. The divorce papers Dad filed included asset division, and when everything came out about the money, he demanded we sell the house and split everything 50-50. I've been renting a tiny apartment across town, but I can't afford it anymore. So, Dad had followed through on leaving her, and apparently the financial consequences of her actions were finally catching up. The house sale, legal fees, and losing Dad's income had left her struggling to maintain even basic housing. I need help, she continued, her voice getting higher and more frantic. Just enough for first month's rent and deposit on a cheaper place. Maybe $3,000. I know I messed up before, but this is different. This is about having a roof over my head. The absolute nerve of this woman asking me for more money after stealing my life savings and spending it on luxury items was breathtaking. I actually laughed, which seemed to shock her. You're joking, right? You stole $20,000 from me, lied about why you needed it, spent it all on yourself, and now you want more money? I'll pay you back this time, I swear. I learned my lesson. You learned your lesson? Which lesson was that? The one about not stealing from your daughter, or the one about facing consequences for your actions? She started crying right there, in the hospital lobby, which was mortifying because people were definitely watching our conversation by this point. Security was hovering nearby, probably wondering if they needed to intervene. I'm going to be homeless, she sobbed. I'm 58 years old and I'm going to be living in my car. Is that what you want? Your own mother sleeping in a parking lot somewhere. The manipulation was so transparent it was almost insulting. Even through her tears, I could see her watching my face, gauging whether her performance was working. She was using the same playbook that had worked 6 months ago, but I wasn't the same naive daughter who'd fallen for it before. Mom, you made your choices. You chose to lie to me, steal my money, and spend it on yourself instead of anything remotely necessary. You chose to prioritize shopping and spa days over honesty. You chose to manipulate your own family. These are the consequences of those choices. But I'm your mother. And I was your daughter when you decided to scam me out of my future. Being my mother didn't stop you then, so it doesn't give you special treatment now. I could see the exact moment she realized her tears weren't working. Her expression shifted from desperate to angry, and the real her started showing through. Fine, be heartless, but don't come crying to me when you need family support someday. You'll regret treating me like this. I already regret something involving you, but it's not this conversation. Security approached us then, asking if everything was okay. I told them my mother was leaving and wouldn't be back, then walked away without another word. She called after me a few times, but I didn't turn around. Back upstairs, my supervisor asked if I was all right and if I needed to take the rest of the day off. I told her I was fine, just dealing with some family drama, and she said to let her know if I needed anything. My coworkers were curious but respectful enough not to pry too much. I texted Dad that afternoon to let him know about Mom's visit and her eviction situation. He said he'd heard rumors from Uncle Mike that she was struggling financially but hadn't known it was that bad. When I asked if he felt guilty about not helping her, he said he felt sorry for her but couldn't enable her behavior anymore. She made her bed, he texted back. Maybe hitting rock bottom will finally teach her that actions have consequences. That evening, I got a call from my grandmother asking if I'd heard from Mom and if I knew about her housing situation. I filled her in on the hospital visit, and Grandma sighed heavily. I love your mother, but she did this to herself. I offered to help her find a job and budget her money properly, but she said that was beneath her. She expected everyone else to fix her problems while she contributed nothing. Even Grandma, who usually pushed for family unity above everything else, had reached her limit with Mom's behavior. A week later, I heard through the family grapevine that Mom had moved in with some friend from her book club, sleeping on their couch and supposedly looking for work. Dad said he felt bad about her situation, but wasn't changing his mind about the divorce or offering financial help. My cousin Sarah texted me saying Mom had asked her for money too, spinning some story about medical expenses, but Sarah had already heard about what happened with me and told her no. Apparently Mom was working her way through the family trying to find someone who'd fall for her lies. 3 weeks after the hospital confrontation, I got a letter in my mailbox. Not delivered by mail carrier, but hand-delivered, which meant Mom had driven to my apartment building and put it there herself. The letter was 4 pages of handwritten guilt trips and blame shifting. She wrote about how disappointed she was, in how I'd turned the family against her, how she'd raised me better than to abandon my mother in her time of need, how Dad leaving her was somehow my fault for exposing her actions. There was no genuine apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd actually done wrong, just page after page of victim mentality and emotional manipulation. The last paragraph really got to me, though. I hope someday you'll understand that family is more important than money, and that forgiveness is what separates good people from heartless ones. When you're older and need help, remember how you treated your mother when she needed you most. I read that letter twice, then threw it in the trash. She was still trying to rewrite history, making herself the victim and me the villain. Even facing homelessness, she couldn't admit that her own choices had led to this situation. My savings account is slowly growing again. I'm up to about $8,000, still a long way from my original 20, but getting there. I found a smaller apartment that's cheaper than my current place, so I should be able to save faster once I move next month. Dad and I have dinner every couple weeks now. He's doing well, seems happier actually, and is working on finalizing the divorce. He said Mom's friend's hospitality ran out after a month of her not contributing to household expenses or actively job hunting, so she'd moved on to another friend's place. She's burning through her support network, he told me over pizza last week. People are generous for a while, but eventually they get tired of being taken advantage of. I don't feel guilty about my decision. Mom had every opportunity to handle this situation differently. She could have asked for help honestly, used any money responsibly, and maintained trust with her family. Instead, she chose manipulation, lies, and selfishness. The consequences she's facing now aren't because I'm heartless or unforgiving. They're because she destroyed every relationship that could have helped her through hard times. She burned bridges with her daughter, her husband, her mother, and extended family by prioritizing her immediate wants over long-term trust and stability. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever truly understand what she did wrong, or if she'll spend the rest of her life convinced that everyone else is being unreasonable. Based on that letter and her continued attempts to guilt-trip family members into helping her, I'm guessing it's the latter. But that's not my problem to solve anymore. I'm focused on rebuilding my life, my savings, and my ability to trust people. It's been an expensive lesson in recognizing manipulation, but at least I learned it before giving her access to even more of my resources or bringing children into this dynamic. My new apartment has great security, by the way. Mom won't be able to just show up unannounced anymore, which gives me peace of mind I didn't realize I was missing. Life's better now without the constant drama and manipulation. My bank account is growing, my stress levels are down, and I sleep better knowing I don't have to wonder what crisis or guilt trip is coming next. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who see you as a solution to their problems rather than a person deserving of respect and honesty. Mom made her choices, and now she gets to live with them. I'm making mine, too, and they include protecting myself from people who would take advantage of my love and generosity, even if that person happens to be family.